Best friend's prank turned me into a woman. I never saw myself as anything special. Just an average guy living an average life. Wake up, go to work, come home, repeat. Every day was the same, like I was trapped in an endless loop of monotony. I worked a dull office job in data entry, a soul-sucking position where my only real interactions were with my keyboard and the occasional passive-aggressive email from my boss. It wasn't that I hated my life. I just felt like something was missing. Like I was waiting for something to happen, even though I had no idea what. Socially, I wasn't exactly a loner, but I wasn't the life of the party either. I had friends, sure, but I always felt like an outsider looking in, never quite fitting into the mold of what a normal guy should be. I'd watch my friends joke around, exuding confidence, while I sat back, quietly observing. Then there was Emily, my best friend since high school. She was the opposite of me in every way. Loud, charismatic, fearless. The kind of person who could strike up a conversation with a total stranger and have them laughing within minutes. She always said I needed to loosen up, to stop holding myself back. You're too careful, she'd tell me. Too afraid to step outside your comfort zone. Maybe she was right. Because deep down I had a secret. Something I never dared to say out loud, not even to myself. Sometimes, late at night, I'd stand in front of the mirror and wonder, what if I wasn't who everyone thought I was? What if the version of me that existed in the world wasn't the real me at all? But those thoughts were dangerous, silly, impossible. So I buried them. Until the night Emily pulled a prank that forced me to face everything I had spent years trying to ignore. And my life was never the same again. It started with a text from Emily. Emily, I've got your costume for the party. No backing out. I sighed, already regretting agreeing to go. Emily's annual Halloween party was a big deal. Loud, chaotic, filled with people who thrived on attention. Not exactly my scene. But she had been relentless. You need to have fun for once, she'd said. Live a little. When I arrived at her apartment that evening, she was practically bouncing with excitement. A wicked grin spread across her face as she shoved a garment bag into my hands. Time to get dressed. I hesitated. This better not be something ridiculous. She smirked. Oh, it's ridiculous. But in the best way. I unzipped the bag, and my stomach dropped. A sleek, silky dress. A deep shade of burgundy, elegant yet daring. You're kidding, I muttered. Nope. You lost the bet last month, remember? You agreed I could pick your costume. That was a joke. She folded her arms. Well, I took it seriously. And besides, she tilted her head, studying me. I think you'd look amazing. I scoffed. No way. Oh, come on. It's just a party. No one's gonna care. She stepped closer, her voice softening. You always play it safe, always hide in the background. Just once, I want to see you do something bold. I swallowed hard. It was ridiculous. Embarrassing. But beneath the panic, something else stirred. An undeniable curiosity. A tiny, forbidden voice whispering, what if? I should have walked away. Should have laughed it off. Instead, I grabbed the bag, marched into the bathroom, and shut the door. I had no idea that single moment would change everything. The moment I stepped into Emily's bathroom, the reality of what I was about to do hit me like a tidal wave. This is stupid. Just walk out there and tell her no. But I didn't. Instead, I unzipped the garment bag fully, letting the dress spill out into my hands. The fabric was soft, smooth against my fingertips in a way that sent a shiver up my spine. I held it up in front of the mirror, my heart hammering. What am I doing? I took a deep breath and peeled off my shirt, hesitating before reaching for the dress. The moment it slipped over my shoulders, I felt an unfamiliar rush. It clung to my body in ways I wasn't used to, making me acutely aware of every movement, every breath. I turned to the mirror. I should have laughed, should have felt ridiculous. But instead, all I felt was something I couldn't put into words. A knock on the door startled me. Are you chickening out in there? Emily's teasing voice cut through my thoughts. No, I lied. Good. Because I'm doing your makeup next. I scoffed, half expecting myself to rip the dress off and walk out. But I didn't. Instead, I cracked the door open and mumbled, Just don't make me look like a clown. Emily grinned like she had just won the lottery. Trust me, I know exactly what I'm doing. She led me to her vanity and got to work, her touch surprisingly gentle as she dusted powder across my face. "You have great cheekbones, you know," she mused. "I can't believe I've never noticed." I swallowed hard, probably because I don't usually do this. "Maybe." She met my eyes in the mirror, a knowing glint in her expression. "Or maybe you've just never let yourself." I had no response to that. When she finished, she spun me toward the mirror. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't recognize myself. The person staring back at me was stunning. Not in an exaggerated, over-the-top way, but in a way that made my stomach tighten. My face was softer, my features more defined. With the makeup and the dress, I wasn't just playing dress-up. I looked like a woman. Emily rested a hand on my shoulder. "So?" I opened my mouth, but no words came out, because for the first time in my life, I didn't know who I was looking at. The party was a blur. A rush of voices, laughter, music pulsing in the background. I expected people to stare, to mock, to see through me immediately. But they didn't. They complimented me, called me gorgeous, treated me like I belonged. And for the first time, I felt like I did. The moment that truly shook me, though, came when a guy approached me. Josh. I had met him a few times before, a friend of Emily's. Confident, easygoing, the type of guy who never seemed to second-guess himself. Tonight, he was looking at me differently. "Hey," he said, flashing a grin. "I don't think we've met." Panic surged through me. Did he not recognize me? Should I tell him? Should I laugh it off? But instead of correcting him, I played along. I let him buy me a drink. I let him flirt. And I flirted back. Not because I was trying to fool him. Not because I was playing some kind of game. But because, for the first time in my life, it felt right. As the night went on, I lost track of time, lost track of my fears. I danced. I laughed. I felt alive. But as the party wound down and I caught my reflection again, the euphoria cracked. Who was I? What had I just done? I wasn't a woman. This was supposed to be a joke, a one-night thing. So why did it feel like something inside me had woken up? I didn't have the answers. But I knew one thing. I couldn't pretend this never happened. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to. The morning after the party, I woke up with a dull headache and a stomach full of unease. It wasn't the alcohol. I hadn't even drunk that much. It was something deeper, something I didn't know how to name. The dress was still on the chair across the room, the makeup smudged on my face, a stark reminder of everything that had happened. I should have laughed it off, told myself it was just a party, just a prank, just a one-time thing. But I couldn't, because when I thought about last night, the way I felt, the way people saw me, the way I saw me, there was no denying the truth. I had never felt more like myself than I did in that dress. And that terrified me. I tried to push it down, to go back to normal. But normal didn't feel normal anymore. I caught myself lingering in front of the mirror, running a hand over my face, wondering how I looked with softer features, with longer hair. I found excuses to visit Emily's apartment, each time hoping, without admitting it, that she'd bring it up, that she'd push me again. But I was too afraid to ask. Then one evening, she cornered me. "You've been weird lately," she said, studying me with that knowing look of hers. "You want to talk about it?" I opened my mouth, closed it. I had no idea how to say it. Luckily, I didn't have to. "Is it about the other night?" she asked. I tensed. "Maybe." She leaned forward. "Did you like it?" My pulse quickened. I hesitated, then exhaled sharply. "I don't know. I think so. But I shouldn't have." Her brow furrowed. "Why not?" "Because it's not who I'm supposed to be." The words felt heavy in my mouth. Emily was quiet for a long moment. Then, softly, "Who are you supposed to be?" I had no answer. I tried to keep my thoughts buried, but the more I ignored them, the more they pushed back. One afternoon, I walked past a clothing store and caught sight of a mannequin in the window, a simple outfit, nothing special. But I found myself staring, imagining what it would feel like to wear something like that just because. Not as a joke, not for a party, just because I wanted to. Before I knew it, I was inside the store, my heart pounding as I drifted toward the women's section. My hands shook as I brushed over the fabrics, overwhelmed by the sheer amount of choices. What am I even doing? I muttered under my breath. A voice startled me. Looking for something specific? I spun around to see a store clerk. Friendly smile, no judgment in her eyes. I panicked. My throat went dry. I couldn't even finish the sentence. I turned and rushed out of the store, my face burning. Later that night, I stared at my reflection and hated what I saw. Not because of how I looked, but because of how scared I was to admit what I wanted. Emily didn't let me spiral for long. A few days later, she shoved a shopping bag into my hands. "What's this?" I asked. "A gift," she said. "Open it." I pulled out a simple top, soft and casual, nothing too flashy. It shouldn't have meant so much, but when I looked at her, my throat tightened. "Emily," she smiled, "you don't have to wear it, but if you do, I just want you to know you don't have to do this alone." I clutched the fabric, my heart aching with something dangerously close to relief. Maybe I wasn't ready yet, but for the first time, I wanted to be. The top sat in my dresser for days, untouched. I wanted to wear it. I ached to, but every time I reached for it, doubt crept in. What if I look ridiculous? What if this is all in my head? What if I put it on and feel nothing? But one night, after another long day of pretending to be someone I wasn't, I found myself staring at my reflection again. I was tired of running, tired of not knowing. With trembling hands, I pulled the top from the drawer and slipped it on. A shiver ran through me. It was so simple, so ordinary. But when I looked in the mirror, I didn't just see me. I saw the person I had been afraid to acknowledge. I ran my fingers through my hair, adjusting the fabric, watching how it fit, not just on my body, but on me. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was playing dress-up. I felt real. The next day, I showed up at Emily's apartment, my heart hammering. She opened the door, took one look at me and grinned. "Nice top." I swallowed. "It feels right." Her smile softened. "I was hoping you'd say that." She pulled me inside, and before I could question anything, she sat me down in front of her mirror. "Let's try something." She didn't ask for permission this time. She just started. A little concealer, a touch of blush, a soft, natural lip color. Nothing dramatic, nothing exaggerated. And yet, when I looked at myself, my breath caught. Not because I looked different, but because for the first time, I looked whole. Something inside me clicked. A realization I had been avoiding for so long. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a phase. This was me. That night, Emily and I went out. Just a casual dinner, nothing big, nothing flashy. But as we walked through the city, I felt something I had never felt before. Confidence. Not the forced, awkward kind I had spent years trying to fake, but a quiet, steady kind. The kind that came from knowing, deep down, that I was finally on the right path. People didn't stare. They didn't whisper or point. They just saw me. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid to be seen. I never expected to run into Josh again. But life had a way of forcing me to face things I wasn't ready for. It happened at a cafe, one of those quiet, cozy places where people pretended to be productive while sipping overpriced lattes. Emily and I had stopped in after shopping, our arms full of bags. I was feeling good, light, like I belonged in my skin for once. Then I heard his voice. "Hey, I know you." I froze, my fingers tightening around my cup. Josh stood by the counter, staring at me, confusion flickering in his eyes. I could have bolted, could have laughed it off, pretended I was someone else. But I didn't want to run anymore. So I took a breath, forced myself to meet his gaze, and said, "Yeah, you do." His eyes widened slightly as realization set in. It was the moment I had dreaded, the moment someone from my old life saw me for who I really was. A flicker of something crossed his face. Not disgust, not anger, just surprise. And then, to my shock, he smiled. "Wow," he said, shaking his head slightly. "You look different." I braced myself. Here it comes. But then he chuckled. "Honestly, you look happier." I blinked. "I what?" He shrugged. "I don't know. You just seem more like you." My throat tightened. I had spent so long fearing rejection, bracing for judgment. But in this moment, I realized something earth-shattering. Not everyone would hate me for this. Not everyone would turn away. Some people would see me, really see me, Emily nudged me playfully. Told you the world wouldn't end. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. For the first time, I believed her. That night, standing in front of my mirror, I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel doubt. I just felt right. I traced my reflection, a slow smile spreading across my lips. I had spent my whole life afraid of who I was. But now, I was finally ready to live. Life didn't change overnight. There were still moments of hesitation, still glances in the mirror where old doubts tried to creep in. But they didn't hold power over me anymore. Because I knew who I was now, and I wasn't going back. I started small, subtle changes that felt natural. A new haircut, clothes that actually felt right, little touches of makeup on days when I felt like it. People noticed. Some were surprised, some didn't seem to care, and some, like Emily, just smiled like they had seen this coming all along. My confidence grew, little by little. I walked taller, spoke with more certainty, stopped second-guessing every choice I made. And the world didn't end. No one pointed and laughed. No one told me I had to stop. In fact, something incredible happened. People saw me, and not just the new clothes or the softer features, but me, the real me. And the best part, I saw me too. One afternoon, Emily and I sat in the same cafe where I had run into Josh. I sipped my drink, glancing at my reflection in the window. A few months ago, I wouldn't have recognized the person staring back. Now, I couldn't imagine being anyone else. Emily nudged me. You seem different. I smiled. I feel different. Good different. I exhaled, feeling the weight of a lifetime of doubt finally lift off my shoulders. The best kind. She grinned. Took you long enough. I laughed, shaking my head. Yeah, it took time. It took fear. It took doubt. It took a prank that wasn't really a prank at all. But I made it. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't just existing. I was living. Life has a way of showing us who we really are, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. For so long, I thought I had to fit into a version of myself that wasn't real. I let fear, doubt, and the expectations of others define me. But the truth was always there, waiting for me to stop running. I used to think embracing my true self would be terrifying. And at times it was. But what's even scarier? Living a life that isn't mine. Change didn't happen in a single moment. It was a journey, one of hesitation, discovery, and finally acceptance. And in the end, I realized something simple but powerful. I was never becoming someone new. I was finally becoming me.